world shouldn't pay for my arrogance.
I'm not a god. If I could fix this, if I could punish you instead, I would. But I can't interfere. Meddling with time and events only leads to more destruction.
No.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the Rantin Review Entertainment. Today, I'm going to finally talk about the What If series. I was going to do an episode-by-episode reaction video stuff, but no. The episodes were very short, and I was already doing the Walking Dead one, so I'm trying to only do like one reaction video series at a time. But I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed this series, most of it. But in this video, we are going to rank from worst to best Marvel What If animated series from Disney Plus. However, though, before we get to that, I want to remind you guys that I have tons of goodies down for you down in the description box below. You can get free 30-day trials for Amazon Prime. You can get a free 30-day trial of Audible if you've never used it before. You can also get free stocks from Webull that can be worth up to $2,300 a piece. Free cryptocurrency from Celsius and BlockFi. So check the links down in the description box below and get yourself some free stuff. All right, so at the bottom of my list, I'm going to put the Party Thor episode. And the party, it comes later in the series, and the reason I'm putting it at the bottom is because after what we had seen, the series seemed to have progressed from episode 1, 2, 3, 4, like getting a little bit weirder and a little bit more complex and a little bit more like, wow, that's kind of a crazy concept stuff. And then we get the Party Thor episode, which was just it was just Chris Hemsworth being goofy, and it was just fun. I think, in my opinion, though, I know a lot of people did like this episode. I think it's where the episode comes in the series is probably why I didn't like it. If this had been the first episode, I think I might have enjoyed it a little bit more. The Party Thor episode essentially is when he goes to Earth. It's what if Loki was not really his brother, if Odin had not taken Loki from the Frost Giant and there wasn't all the conflict, and what Thor would be like without the conflict with Loki. And it turns out that Thor would just be a big frat boy. And that's essentially what this episode is. It's really funny, but again, tonally, because of where it is in the series, I just felt like it was too much of a tonal shift and just felt out of place for what I was looking forward to in this series. Next up, I'm going to put the last episode, the season finale of What If the Watcher Broke His Oath. And the reason I'm putting that in there is because it seemed like they were trying to wrap up all of these different things, but I don't think it really worked too well. It's an exciting episode. It's not a bad episode by any stretch of imagination, but it just seemed like we were building towards this really big thing. Some things didn't work. They were playing very loose and fast with the logic, which, again, it's a comic book movie. It's not even a comic book movie. It's an animated comic book TV show on Disney Plus about alternate realities in a fictional reality that already has done time jump. So yeah, the consistencies are going to be out there, and that's kind of the problem sometimes with comic book stories because they've been around for so long and they do so many of these variations. Continuity becomes extremely difficult doing one of these things. However, I did feel that it was, even though all Marvel's movies and TV shows have this issue from time to time, I think this one, it was a little bit too glaring to me that certain things just didn't match up right and didn't make any sense. But hey, again, they're missing that one episode. Maybe it would have made a little bit more sense with that. But it was a fun episode. It's not a terrible episode, but it is number 8 for me on the list. Number 7, I want to put in episode 1 would have Peggy Carter had become Captain America instead of Steve Rogers, and she became Captain Carter, actually. I like this episode. This was a good introductory episode. I remember watching it and going, okay, well, that's pretty much what I thought it was going to be. And it was kind of pedestrian, but I think it's okay because it's the first episode. And again, we have to remember that, there are going to be people who don't know that they're, Marvel has done this in the comic books and they didn't read any comic books or stuff. You've got to introduce a general audience to what this is. And also for those of us who do know a little bit more about the Marvel comic books and what the backstage stuff is and whatever, just getting the tone right of the show is just, let's not go full on with some crazy stuff here. Let's just do a little switcheroo. Peggy Carter got the serum instead of Steve Rogers. What would that likely have looked like? And I thought they did a good job with this one. Ross Marquand from The Walking Dead actually, I guess he's just because he's so good at doing impressions, he's just going to fill in for characters. I think this is the second time he's played Red Skull, because he did play Red Skull in Infinity War and Endgame. So, because Hugo Weaving didn't want to be in part of Marvel anymore, because, you know, it's beneath him. I'm going to put What If Zombies in here. It was one of the episodes I was looking forward to the most in the series, and it was a lot of fun. It was a little freaky. It's also fun again because you guys know I'm a huge Walking Dead fan. Denai Guerrero playing you know, she's in Black Panther, and to see her playing her Black Panther character in this Marvel universe with zombies was, you know, a little meta there. I was expecting them to do some sort of joke. I think it was a little bit of a missed opportunity. I did enjoy the episode though. It was fun seeing this different crew of people together. It got a little bit too weird with Ant-Man being a head in a jar. That seemed a little Futurama-ish. That was a little off, a little strange for me, but all of this actually pretty much worked. I did enjoy how they made their zombies work, and the fact that the zombies retained all of their superhero powers. So, you know, you gotta power it up Wong. And although strangely enough, there was no zombie Thor, which I did take a note of, that they didn't have a zombie Thor in here that I remember. The whole subplot too of Vision feeding people to Wanda because she became a zombie, and her being like, oh crap, Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, is a zombie? That's crazy. And it was pretty scary. And then the cliffhanger, which I don't think they really ever paid off, this kind of confused me, and why I knocked it down the list a little bit, was that we went back to Wakanda at the end of the episode, and Thanos was a zombie Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, which it's a terrifying thought, but they didn't really follow up with it in the rest of the series. What If Ultron Won is the next one on my list. I thought this episode was a lot better than the actual finale that followed it and concluded this little two-parter for the season finale. The Watcher, who's, as you see throughout the first 6 or 7 episodes of the series, he's kind of faint in the first episode, and he gets closer and closer every episode, and he's very invested in this one. The basis of the story here, though, is that it's basically, if you go back to Avengers 2, which was the Age of Ultron, which was really the week of Ultron, this felt more like the Age of Ultron than the Age of Ultron movie did, because Ultron here does not lose the Vision body. He actually keeps the Vision body and then winds up basically setting off nukes and destroying the whole world. The irony of this too is that the only 2 people of our heroes that survive are Hawkeye and Black Widow, who, if you remember from the Age of Ultron movie, they are the ones who got the Vision body from Ultron, so he didn't get it. So because they didn't do that, they wound up in this world where Ultron won. He got the nuclear codes, he defeated the Avengers, set off the nukes, wiped out most of the life on the planet, and they are now stuck trying to fight off against Ultron and his network in this universe. But Ultron has the Mind Stone, and in this universe, Thanos shows up, and he's already got all the other Infinity Stones, and Ultron just basically looks at him for 5 seconds and goes, fascinating, cuts Thanos in half, and takes all the Infinity Stones and embeds them into his body, and then all hell breaks loose. He starts becoming aware of alternate universes. Now you got a murder bot AI with the Infinity Stones going across all the multiple realities and destroying everything, and to the point where he actually can confront the Watcher. Now he's one of a couple of characters throughout the series that actually is aware of the Watcher, which is kind of a big deal. That means you've kind of ascended to a certain level where you're breaking reality, you're breaking your universe, you're breaking the multiverse. So the Watcher is, he can see you, and you can talk to him because he can see everything, but they can see the Watcher. But this one, Ultron attacks the Watcher. Really cool battle between the two of them. It was really fun to see that. And the ultimate conclusion is the Watcher knows he can't take this thing on. He needs some help. And that is what will lead us into the season finale. What if the world lost its mightiest heroes? This one was where I think for me, the show really started getting into some territory that really kind of piqued my interest, because the first 2 episodes were fun and campy and nice, and there were some interesting weird ideas here, but this one was pretty dark. And I'm gonna go and say this, which a lot of people have noted about this series is that they kill Tony Stark a lot of times in this series. I don't know if that's a little shot because Robert Downey Jr. obviously he's one of the few actors that didn't come back and voice it because he's done with the MCU. He said that many times. Same thing with Chris Evans, and I think for scheduling issues, that's why Spider-Man did not voice himself in this. But Tony Stark in almost every single one of these episodes dies in some terrible graphic way. So Tony's just destined to die. It just is a matter of when. But in this one, you start off with him at the donut shop, and he gets the little injection that was from, I think it was Iron Man 2. And instead of it curing his little, poison, it actually killed him, which was something fun, which is funny to me because I'm sure I'm not the only one who thought about this. It's a thought I had when I watched that Iron Man 2 movie when they injected him. I was like, what if something went wrong and they poisoned him or it didn't work right and he just keeled over and died? And this is they did it in this episode, so I kind of appreciated that for my own little fandom. But the entire episode is like this murder mystery. There's somebody going around killing all the people that Nick Fury has on the Avengers list. The Avengers that we would know in that first Avengers movie would never become that because Hawkeye would wind up shooting his arrow at Thor before Thor became invincible again and killed Thor. And then Hawkeye died while he was in prison for killing Thor. Meanwhile, Nick Fury knew something weird was going on. He let Black Widow loose to kind of go investigate things and see what was going on. She's kind of your main protagonist in this and the finale episodes as well. A lot of good stuff here for Black Widow, which is kind of funny because at the same time the series is going on, Scarlett Johansson has got a lawsuit going on with Disney Studios and Marvel Studios, so that's pretty funny. But this episode was fun. It was really dark because at the end, even Black Widow gets taken out by this thing, and by the time it got to the end, I kind of figured it out. About 5 minutes before the end came, I was like, oh, it must be Hank Pym or Ant-Man or something like that. And it turned out to be Hank Pym. But then they crossed it over with this very interesting story about Loki coming in to avenge his brother and then taking over the Earth as he wanted to in the original Avengers anyway. And that's how the series ended, with Loki at the head of the United Nations telling the world that he is now their leader and he is burdened with glorious purpose. Next one is what if T'Challa became Star-Lord. This is the second episode in the series. It was a little campier, but a little bit more fun, and I enjoyed it. But this more so than the Party Thor episode or the Captain Carter episode. This one was just really way wacky out there. Now, you're gonna get that anyway because it's the Guardians of the Galaxy's universe. But the whole premise is instead of them picking up Peter Quill, they picked up T'Challa from Wakanda, and because the Ravagers are morons, and they're like, does it even look the same? Well, they're both human, and they're, so they did that whole thing. So the consequence of that, though, is that Ego winds up getting his son, and then that universe is pretty much screwed, if you remember the plot of Guardians of the Galaxy 2. But that comes later on. That's kind of a tack on at the end. The majority of the episode is that if T'Challa had become Star-Lord instead of Peter Quill, the universe actually would have been a pretty cool place because T'Challa is that awesome. In fact, he's so awesome that he was able to talk Thanos out of his Infinity Stone quest. Even though they make a running joke about, Thanos trying to explain what he thought about before Star-Lord talked him out of it. And everybody keeps saying, it kind of sounds like genocide, but it's efficient and it's random. He's still defending it. The idea is still there. Thanos is still thinking that idea. We do see him get his butt handed to him by his own little minions from Infinity War and Endgame, which was pretty cool. Ebony Maw and so on and so forth. They all beat up Thanos. They almost kill Thanos. But yeah, it was a great episode. The Collector is like super, and I think super amped up, and he's all jacked now, and he's got like Captain America's shield and Hela's crown because he's without Thanos, he kind of grew in power and he became the big bad in the universe. And Star-Lord took him down. Howard the Duck was in it, voiced by Seth Green this time. So this was a fun episode. And it was fun that this was the second episode. I was like, okay, now we're getting a little bit more into kind of strange, weird territory where it's just like, whoa, this is totally different than what I know from the movies. Next up is, what if Killmonger rescued Tony Stark? And I know a lot of people, there's some people that hated this episode, some people like this episode. I really like this episode because first off, bringing Killmonger and actually having Michael B. Jordan voicing the character again, Killmonger is one of the best villains in the MCU, and he still came in at that time where the MCU was, outside of Loki, kind of lacking in really good villains, and this was leading up to Infinity War, but Killmonger is up there with Loki and Thanos as the best villains in the MCU. And Killmonger, in this universe, winds up setting his plan back a little bit, all the way back to the very beginning of the MCU, the very beginning of Iron Man, and instead of Tony Stark getting the shrapnel on his chest and everything, Killmonger was there to save him because he had infiltrated what the Ten Rings, sort of, kind of, not really. But as we would find out in Shang-Chi, obviously these stories are not linking up together, again, the continuity thing. But he outs Obadiah Stane from the very, that name is always so funny to me, from the very beginning, and he's already out. So that whole plot from Iron Man 1 is just wrapped up at the press conference when Tony comes back home. Tony, of course, doesn't become Iron Man. He doesn't learn the lesson. He doesn't go in the cave. So he's still kind of playboy drunk and a little bit so conceited, too full of himself that he misses things. And he misses the fact that Killmonger is pretty much playing him. But that all plays out by halfway through the episode, and once again, Tony Stark dies in this episode. Killmonger kills him. Killmonger also kills Rhodey, and he kills T'Challa, the real Black Panther, on this big plot he has to set the U.S. against Wakanda, just to get the army that the U.S. develops with the AI that he and Tony Stark put together, and then to have it in control of Wakanda and put himself as the new Black Panther, and nobody can challenge him, except for two very, very smart women, Pepper Potts and Siri, who figure out that this is crap and they join up, and then the episode kind of ends, which is a bit of a downer because you don't get any kind of conclusion to it, because it felt like the story was just getting going, and I'm like, ooh, okay, I want to see Siri and Pepper go, and oh, it's over, so that was disappointing, and I think that's why a lot of people don't rank it so high. But just the concept alone, and just seeing Tony Stark and Killmonger working together, and seeing Killmonger back again, that just was pretty awesome. And even with Chadwick Boseman doing the voice, Michael B. Jordan doing the voice, the last time we're going to see them on screen together is in this animated series, and them having that conversation when Killmonger goes into the afterlife, the Panther spirit world of Wakanda, and all the Black Panthers, and it's a very poignant thing, and I love this, that, obviously, T'Challa's spirit knows what, his cousin had done and how he betrayed him and killed him and everything else. And he's like, you think you can solve suffering by bringing in more suffering. You gain this power, you didn't earn this power, and eventually you're going to pay for this either in that world or ours, in the spirit world, which I thought was a really awesome line. It kind of harkens back a little bit it's a little bit like Baron Mordo, remember him? I was surprised he wasn't in the series. Baron Mordo's warning to, at the end of Doctor Strange, the bill always comes due, That's kind of this is a much more poetic way of saying that to Killmonger, yeah, you gotta wait for all this stuff, but eventually it's gotta catch up to you. And it does in this series finale big time. Which leads to my favorite episode, which ties into the end, which is, I think, is probably everybody's favorite episode, or most people's favorite episode, is what if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hand? This is the most Twilight Zone-esque of these, and the most Doctor Who-esque kind of episode in the entire series, where we see that no matter what Strange does, in this universe, she is going to die. He can be in the car with her, she can be driving, he can go down a different road, he cannot pick her up at all, they can do it on a different day. It doesn't matter, she is going to die. And he tries so many different times using the time stone to go back and undo it. So then he realizes he can't, and then he tries to do all other kind of stuff. Then it gets really wacky with him summoning dark animals and creatures and spirits and demons and other things and sucking all their energy. And he's doing it so he can be powerful enough to be able to bring her back from the dead. Everything plays out much like it did in the Doctor Strange movie. And then, he has the whole thing with Dormammu, come to barter and everything else. But then the Ancient One comes back and she tries to stop him, her astral form, tries to stop him in a battle. And she winds up splitting him into two and having the good Doctor Strange, the one that we know, and this ultimate evil Darker Strange, as I call him. And then she does that so someone can stop the Darker Strange, but that doesn't even work. Darker Strange actually wins and defeats himself, his good version of himself, and absorbs himself in. It's one of those moments that it's like, it's so dark, it's like, oh no. Like, wait, that was supposed to be the hero. Oh, it didn't work? Oh, evil wins in this one? Ooh, where are we going here? Episodes like that are always kind of weird. Like, the only time I really accept them is in Black Mirror. But that was a creepy ending. It also felt like a Black Mirror episode too. But it was a creepy ending. He winds up getting all this power, and then he's got all these eyeballs and tentacles. He's a mess. And by the time he brings her back to life, she's so afraid of him because he's such a freak. And he tries to save his form or whatever, but it doesn't matter because he's broken the universe. The universe is disintegrating. And even though he brought her back from the dead, it doesn't matter because she's going to disintegrate along with the universe anyway. He realizes this, and then Benedict Cumberbatch is acting in this. The no. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Touches on something because I think we've all had something happen in our life where we were going along, we were skating on the line of something, and then it did go bad, and then you couldn't pull it back. And then you were like, oh no, I didn't want this. I'm so sorry. And you keep saying it, hoping that, because that's all you can do, because you realize you effed up, and things are ruined and wrecked, and you oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But it's too late. I think all of us in some way, shape, or form have had that experience in our life, whether it's relationships or a job or, something at school or something with friends or whatever, where you screwed up and you knew you were going to screw up. People kept telling you were going to screw up and you did it anyway. And then when you finally realized what everybody else was trying to warn you about and how bad it was going to be and what you were going to lose by screwing it up, too late. And it ends with Doctor Strange alone in his own dimension, in his little mirror dimension. Is the last bit that's left of his own universe. Of course, though, in the season finale, he winds up being he's basically the one that saves the day because he winds up trapping Killmonger and Ultron, who are fighting over the Infinity Stones at the end of the season finale, in a pocket dimension within his pocket dimension that he's watching. And we get a couple of Easter eggs at the end of this series, but overall, that was my favorite episode, was the one where Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands. Do I suggest watching the What If series? Absolutely. I think the What If series is a lot of fun. I think if you can not take it too seriously and it let it work on what we know from 11 to 12, 13 years of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and most people who are going to watch this have probably watched the entire MCU at least once, if not twice or three times. So you're probably pretty familiar with the lore. And this just takes all of that stuff and just tweaks it a little bit here, completely flips it on its head over here. It's very interesting. I do know that some of this stuff is definitely canon. I've seen some reviewers say that, oh, well, it doesn't matter, they can do whatever they want to. No, they've said that stuff in here is canon. That Doctor Strange character in particular, there's a lot of people suspecting that the Doctor Strange character we're seeing in What If is actually the one we're going to see in the Spider-Man movie. Then that explains why Doctor Strange seems a little bit weird in those Spider-Man trailers. So we'll have to wait and see on that one when the Spider-Man No Way Home comes out. Even if you're not like way into the Marvel stuff, even if you saw the movies and you generally know what happened and remember what happened in them, this is a lot of fun. And the animation is pretty damn good. Some of the episodes are campy. Some of them are really dark. The Doctor Strange episodes are really, like, you get this like pit in your stomach. Just, again, Benedict Cumberbatch's voice acting, just him just repeating "I'm so sorry" at the very end as it fades to black. It's just that's Twilight Zone, Black Mirror kind of stuff there, and I love, you guys know who followed any of my entertainment videos, I love that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would suggest watching What If. You can skip the Party Thor episode because the ending is completely breaking continuity anyway. So I don't know, unless you like that kind of stuff, it's not really necessary. But I want to know what you guys think. If you have seen the What If series, let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until next time, I will see you guys here for more news, reviews, rumors, and reaction videos on the Rantin Review Entertainment. Have a good day.